Honey Badgers, to our podcast, Beyond the Den. And I'm here today with Sarah and Alex, and we're going to talk about our college game night that we just had this past Friday. Woo! Back, guys. How are y'all doing? How's everything?
Pretty good. Chilling.
I mean, since school ended, like, pretty good, just because I get to do a lot more gaming. But yeah.
Dude, yes.
So, college game night. So this past Friday, let me explain what we did. Is we invited incoming freshmen, college students, faculty, staff, and we had a big game night. We played a lot of Jackbox games, and we had a lot of community interactions with people. So that was a lot of fun. We had a great turnout. We had amazing staff, faculty and staff, and alumni who joined us. So that was really cool. So I want to know your thoughts about it. How'd y'all feel about college game night?
I freaking loved every second of it. I loved being a part of it. And when I got off, I loved watching it. I loved the useful information that everybody was talking about. It was like the most perfect balance between fun and like prep for college type of thing. I cannot stop saying good things about it. I loved every part of it.
No, I wasn't a part of it, but I actually heard that people were having a good time. As a matter of fact, Diego, one of our captains for Smash and League of Legends, he asked if I was on stream. And at the time, I was a little preoccupied, but he's like, oh, well, I thought you were on. He's like, it's actually turning out pretty good. He's like, I'm telling some of the others to join in. So apparently you guys were a huge hit.
Oh, that's so awesome.
You guys feel it went that way?
Well, I myself had a lot of fun. I was made me think a lot, and I had to consider my choices a little differently in my answer choices. But I won Murder Mystery Party, and I'm happy because that's the first time I've ever won that game and didn't die on the first round. So I was really happy about that.
And did you win in Quiplash as well?
No, I got third and fourth the 2 times.
So what were the games that you guys played? Was it just one game that you guys went through the whole night, or did you guys try different games that were in Jackbox? It was Jackbox, right?
Yeah, Jackbox. We played multiple games. I think, what did we start out with? I know we played Quiplash, we played Bracketeering, Murder Mystery Party, Guespionage. That was fun, Guespionage. That was the first one we played. I learned about how, I think it was 6% of Americans believe that the moon landing was fake. Was it 6%?
It was a low percentage. Like, it was lower than we really thought, and we were like, that's good.
Yeah, that was awesome. We were like, wow.
I think we were guessing like 25% or like 60%, like something crazy. And then, yeah, I think it was either 6% or 9%. Granted, that's still a lot of people, but I mean, it was a lot less than we thought. So that was good.
Yeah. So I think we had a lot of fun, and we had some really awesome guests. And between our games, we actually got to ask a lot of questions. We had our MC, Luis. Sorry, I said that really weird. So he got to ask our guests some questions about that our audience is asking, which were like usually about college and all of like how they're how to handle colleges, how to pick out majors, how to meet new friends, what classes to take, what classes not to take, how to interact with your professors. So that was all like really, really good information. And I think that's a good part for us to talk about today is our terms and our views on some of those questions.
Mm-hmm. I really liked, first of all, that we saw a few faces, professors on our stream that, don't normally play video games. And I really liked that people were asking about how to interact with your professors. And I think the people that we had on stream are the exact people who are so perfect to answer those questions because, I mean, we know them as the nicest people in the whole wide world, and I think a lot of incoming freshmen might be intimidated by their professors. And, admittedly, there are some professors who, use that kind of approach. But in reality, your professors are humans too. You know, they're there to help you as best as they can. And there's going to be days where maybe they are going through something personal. But again, at the end of the day, they are human just like you. And I don't think there's necessarily a reason to be afraid of your professors. And, you know, on that same side, if your professor is being rude to you or expressing things to you in a way that doesn't make you feel comfortable, then, you know, you have to know that that's also wrong. They should treat you and you should treat them with, you know, mutual respect. So absolutely adore, you know, Peter, Diane, and I'm getting to know Lucero on for Yes She Can. So just awesome people. Oscar, loved seeing him too. It was so great. They're the perfect people to have answered all of those questions about being a professor. Or no, sorry, about interacting with your professor.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start, let's start there. Let's let's answer some of the questions ourselves that people were asking. And one of the ones we got asked was, how did you choose your major? And so, Alex, would you like to start?
So, me, I will admit, I just chose computer science just because I was always tinkering with computers as a kid. And since I've always liked the creative aspect of it, like I knew a bunch of softwares from the Adobe Master Collection to even some of the ones that my school district would use because I was a school technician. I decided, I won't do computer architect. I'll do computer science, actually, learn coding. And I did that for 3 years up until I changed it more recently. And Sarah knows that one because she has been kind of helping me through the process. I actually changed to not computer design, graphic design. So now I'm spending another couple of years here to do my graphic design major. My CS stuff is now going to be my minor. So I think I'm happier doing graphic design just because I like being creative, but I still like computer science because I get to at least be creative in creating programs. But hopefully the route that I plan on going down with this is somewhere in like game development. So being here has been like an awesome influence for that. How did you choose your Sarah?
So first of all, Alex, I think it's a very smart idea to, you know, have computer science under your belt as well as graphic design. So my own interests always have been motivated by being in the gaming industry as well. And so I do have a degree in graphic design, and I minored in communication studies and also creative writing. Currently, I'm a master's student at the creative writing department at UTEP. And so I think at first my career goals, you know, back in the day when I was a freshman, entailed, you know, like designing video games. But I think once I started on that like degree path of graphic design, I realized that I kind of was ignoring my first true passion, which was writing. And so I realized also that writing is such a huge part of video games as well. I don't think I had realized that before. And again, like Alex, you know, being here, part of this team and whatnot, has really kind of opened the door to get like my little pinky toe dipped into the gaming industry. I've been able to develop a narrative design course for UTEP. Hopefully, I'll be teaching that in the spring. And, you know, I have room to grow and whatnot, but the course that I developed kind of gives you a scope of what it is to be a, you know, writer in the video game industry. So that is my ultimate goal. And yeah, I'm super passionate about writing and gaming. And I'm just so happy that I can combine both of them.
That's fantastic.
What about you, Caroline?
So I am an engineering major, and specifically engineering leadership major. That is specific to UTEP. It's the only one in all of the world, the only Bachelor of Science in engineering leadership. And I knew I was going to be an engineering major from the time I was probably 2 years old. And It's for me, it's I just want to be able to I want to do engineering education. I really want to change the thought process of engineering education, and I feel like E-Lead was the right place to go in terms of learning how to lead and interacting with honey badgers and being a part of this and doing the outreach that we do through Techie and all of that. That really just allows me to work on being a teacher, working on leading different groups of people in order to be successful. And so honestly, it was really hard for me to choose, but once I did, I don't regret it any day. So that was fun.
Oh, I didn't know that it was the first, I guess, and only major of its kind. I think at UTEP we have a few of those. I know the creative writing masters, it's a bilingual, and it's also the only one in the world. So we're doing lots of cool things at UTEP. We're doing a lot of firsts, you know?
That's really cool. So I didn't know that either.
I have a question for you, Caroline.
Go ahead.
So like, what does engineering leadership entail? So I guess what kind of career paths would that take you down, or what maybe do you have a concentration? You know, what does that entail?
So E-Lead is it's a broad engineering degree where you learn about all different types of engineering. You get a concentration where you can focus on either another engineering degree like industrial, mechanical, computer science, all of that, or you can do something you can incorporate it. We've had people incorporate engineering in music design and music production, which I've seen, and it's really cool. So E-Lead is about being able to be adaptable anywhere. We have the three C's, which is called character, competence, and capacity. And that's kind of how we design who we are and what we do is, you know, who we are, how we do it, and what we know. So E-Lead is, for me, I'm an industrial. I focus on industrial, and I either am going to go into project management, but my real goal is to go into engineering ed. So I'm kind of like on the fence of what I want to do with my career, but E-Lead's like, we've had a lot of people go into grad school and stuff, but it's still fairly new, so we still have a wide range of people going everywhere.
Do you think you'd be interested in going to grad school?
I'm highly considering it. I'm very much considering going to grad school, but I don't know. It's wherever the wind blows, one day at a time kind of thing. It is, you know, it is what it is kind of thing.
I had a professor once tell me that grad school's only like 2 or 3 more years. You might as well do it. You know, you might as well do it right after. And then I was like, hey, you're right. Because at one point I was like, oh, well, okay, I get my bachelor's degree. And then I could always like go back to school. But I guess, you know, a lot of us are in the position where like we don't have kids, we don't have, you know, a ton of like financial responsibilities. Maybe some of us do and whatnot. But, you know, the time is now, that kind of mentality. And I was like, dude, you're so right. And I'm really glad that I decided to go to graduate school like right after getting my degree.
No, that's a really good point. I haven't thought about that. You know, it's only 2 or 3 more years, you know, it's right there.
Yeah, it goes by fast too.
Speaking of professors, one of the great questions that our professors answered on game night, which I thought they did an excellent job of answering, but I want to hear from the student's perspective is how do you address your professors and how do you know how to address your professors? Do you profess them as doctor, professor, Mr., Mrs., you know, all those titles that we have. So who would like to start?
One thing that I guess it's different from like a graduate perspective, because when you're a graduate student, a lot of the professors like talk to you differently. You know, you have kind of different conversations, and so usually you call them by their first name. Sorry, my dogs are yelling at me. But I guess for the undergraduate perspective, what I really liked and what I hadn't considered is that I think it was Lucero who was saying whatever they sign off with is how it's a good like idea of how you should address them.
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, wow, I hadn't even considered that. I usually address them as professor because it's just I heard, this is just what I heard. It feels their ego because they're teaching you and you're basically saying teacher, like master, sensei kind of thing. Like, this is who you are and I'm learning from you, but that's just what I've heard. So I usually, unless I know them outside of the class, I usually just address them as professor. When one's in my department, I address as doctor because I know them, I work with them more frequently, and obviously they all have their PhD, but I don't know. Alex, what about you?
Me, so I address them by, for the most part, I'll say like professor, but if they have like a PhD, I'll say doctor. And I think the only reason I do that more so is because when I was doing dual credit in high school, my English professor, he was always like, you always want to address them by their degree. So he's like, because they worked hard for it. So our little running joke for him was that he had a master's degree. So we used to call him Master Hall like all the time, just for no reason. So I mean, yeah, it was a funny little joke, but even now, like for the most part, like if I notice that you have like a master's or like higher, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna call you by your degree. Or if you want me to just call you professor, I'll call you professor. Pretty much, I leave it up to the professors to tell me what you want me to call him by. I think I've only had like one professor that said, "Oh, just call me by my first name." I'm like, okay.
I think too, a lot of what goes into deciding what to call a professor, I think we have to consider the cultural change or like a cultural shift. Because I know that a lot more professors are kind of like chill and laid back about it. I think as time passes, professors also start to understand that like their students are humans, you know? I don't know, like I've had there's this one professor at the UGLC. I've never even had him as a professor. Like, I don't know his name, but like we have like these short, chill conversations about like random things. Like we both have nose piercings and like we'll talk about that. And he's so just relaxed and laid back. And I think a lot of professors in this day and age don't feel the need to like express authority, if that makes sense. And I don't want to like put any other professors down, but I don't know, there's just this very like mutual thing that I see is happening in our culture between professors and students. And I know that I feel it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. All right, and then I'm going to end it with one last question, which is, what is the one advice you have for incoming freshmen? So like, what's something you would tell your incoming freshman self if you could, but advice.
Being
I
smart
think
is
for
cool.
me, it was probably like to check rate my professor because my first semester I did not know that. And I think like later on in my like next coming semesters, it helped me out because then I knew which classes were gonna have a big workload, which classes weren't gonna have a big workload, and it let me at least plan my schedule a bit better.
The one thing I would say, I guess from my own experience, is going from high school to college. I carried a lot of like high school perspective baggage to college. So, for example, I would get in my class and I wouldn't talk to anyone. I would just mind my own business. I wouldn't ask the professor any questions and I would just leave immediately. I didn't really take the time to be social with anyone. And I think I would have benefited from, making a few friends and being like, hey, do you want to study together? I think I was just so like concerned with like being an adult or something. And I had this certain perspective of like, you go to college and there's no mingling, you're all adults now. Yeah, I had this like skewed perspective that like once you're in college, you're an adult and you don't talk to anyone. But that is so not the case. Like talk to people. They're just as scared as you are. You might make some good friends, you know? So don't be afraid of being social.
I think for me, and this is something I still struggle with, is not comparing myself to any other college, anyone else in college. Like, college is difficult, not just about like going to class. It's not just about classes and your grades. You know, you have adult things to deal with as well, and you're growing up, and it's a whole new environment, and it's really hard not to compare yourself when you've just always grown up in the same classes as everyone else in K through 12. And so it was really hard for me to say, oh, well, they're in Cal 2 and I'm only in Cal 1, like, I guess, you know, or they're graduating in spring, but I'm not going to graduate until fall. Like, that was really hard for me. That's still really hard for me to overcome, because it's like, oh, you know, they started at the same time I did. But it's slowly something that I've realized is so irrelevant, because it's about you and your experience and what you learn. And college is not like, it doesn't matter what anyone else learns, because they're going to get out of it what they need to get out of it. But you're in college to get something out of it and to learn and increase. And you're basically investing in yourself. And so if you're going to invest in yourself, you better do it right. You know, it's not cheap. So that's definitely something I'm learning to cope with.
I feel that 120%, dude. It took me more than 4 years to graduate with my undergraduate degree. But if I, like, you know, some people don't like this saying, but things happen for a reason. Like, if I wouldn't have taken that extra time, like, I literally would not even like be here chilling with you guys recording a podcast. You know, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I do now. So yeah, it's not a race. Like, I think that's a super good point, dude. I feel that.
It's really hard. I want the people to know that it's not something you can overcome overnight, but if you can start thinking about it now, like, it really helps.
Yeah, true.
That's all I have. Do y'all have any other questions?
No. Nope. Just be yourself. It's like, so maybe cliche, but truly just being your authentic self is probably one of the best things you could work towards in your life. I don't mean to be all sappy, but you know, that's just really how I feel about it.
Well, with that, we want to welcome all our new students that are coming into UTEP and coming freshmen. We're really glad to have you. And to all our returning students, you know, we love you too. And remember, you know where to follow us, which is at EP Honey Badgers.